Yeah, you got to go live.
I guess.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Just give me some more. Have it in. Some more. Just give me some more.
Why, hello, and welcome to My Whiskey Den, your favorite public access whiskey review show where craft whiskey is king. Tonight with me is Mike, as always. Thank you, Mike, for being with us. Before we go any further,
you're welcome.
I appreciate that. Before we go further, do you want to let's tell people about commenting, and subscribing?
Let's do it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification to find out when new episodes are coming out, which are Monday nights, usually. Also, forward it, share it with your family and friends. Leave a comment down below. Also, leave a comment in the chat. Watch live. Interact with the nice people in the chat.
Yes, that's very, very true. And also, do you want to be in charge of the buttons while you talk about the Bar Cart Co-op?
Oh, sure. We got a lot of bar cart stuff to do. So.
Oh yes.
All right.
Several things. I just don't want to take the power from you.
Don't want to take the power. We are proud members of the Bar Cart Co-op, which is a group of shows, all with a common goal, which is to educate ourselves, and have fun. The granddaddy of that group is Distillers Talk, which comes out on usually new shows on new Thursdays or Fridays, and that is with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson, and that is a deep dive into Nerdville with mostly distillers, but also industry people like still makers. And there have been, I think, some. I don't know if have there been. I guess there's been some brand ambassadors or ambassadors like Mr. Wadle, the single barrel curator for Peerless. Distillers Talk is great. You really want to get in the weeds with somebody. They've got some really good long running multi-part shows. Definitely check that one out. Also. Alan has the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. If you want to just learn anything about distilling, and it is anything, he will put things to the test. He will put mash bills to the test. He will put equipment to the test. He will answer viewer questions. It's pretty cool. Pretty much nothing is off limits. And it's very educational. Even if you are never going to touch a still, you can learn a lot about grains and equipment and other processes. Also, the classiest and, dare I say, sexiest of the group, Bourbon Turntable, with Kevin Rose and Drew Crawley. Bourbon Turntable comes out on Wednesdays on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and the like. Bourbon Turntable, which is the love of whiskey and the love of music. They have a lot of fantastic shows, including many two-part shows, like with Miss Nancy Fraley, Todd Leopold, Steve Gorman. Let's see. Recently, they just had Chip Tate on. They've had bands such as Sweet Lady, Cold Stairs, Blue Funk. Anyway, just so many wonderful things. Also, before I forget, One Piece at a Time. There's not a set date that it comes out. It comes out rapid fire, like all the time, multiple episodes throughout the week, usually on YouTube.
As quickly as he can respond.
Exactly. And one more serious one. This is Alan, because Alan doesn't sleep. If you have ghosts, you have everything. And this is a paranormal podcast that sometimes delves into the spirits in distilling, but most often just the spirits all around us, and some very, very interesting stories throughout history and things that are happening now. It's really cool. It comes out on Spotify on, I think, Fridays or Saturdays. I just have notification that comes off and listen to it. There's been some really, really cool ones, things about not just the paranormal, but also UFOs and some other things. It's pretty
Supernatural.
cool. The supernatural. And Bar Cart Co-op has a special show coming up tomorrow night right here inside American Single Malt. And that's a pretty good lineup there. Lenny Eckstein, Mark Vierthal, Chip Tate, and Murphy Quint. They all know a little bit about single malts. So it should be a very interesting panel. The show could be an hour and a half, or it could be 5 hours. But it'll be it's 8, and that's 8 p.m. Eastern time, not 8 p.m. Central time.
Not our time.
No, not our time at all.
But that's okay. But yeah, that lineup is fantastic, because if you've had any of their stuff, I think you can easily say that there's something from theirs that would land in someone's, or at least in my top 10 list. You know, you have it,
Yes.
You're like, ooh, it's gonna land in there, and it's gonna be a big deal. Oh,
yeah,
Chris is gonna be on this week. A new album.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what's gonna happen? The album release show? Is that like Bourbon Turntable's new thing? I kind of like it.
I'm telling you, Bourbon Turntables got the finger on the pulse there of a lot of music. They've really got some great venues around them in Louisville, and Kevin's hitting a lot of those. Cold Stairs, if you have not listened to their music, you should. It's a pretty fine blues rock and roll there, and kind of an old school throwback to some nice 70s rock that's on there. And I did hear our special guest is on the way. She is working on her order fixing, as she said. And
which is fair.
Yes, it's fair, and she is nothing but honest. So yeah, so that's the thing. I guess that's all the big news with Bar Cart Co-op, at least things that are going on. Yeah, and the Bar Cart Co-op shows they've been try to do one a quarter. So they've done alternative grains. They did Tale of Two Spills. Yeah, I did a blind tasting. And I'm trying to remember what the last one was. And if only there was someone in the chat who could correct me. But that would be but they will.
Might be asking too much. No, I'm just kidding.
They might be asking. He says might be absinthe next quarter. Now that could be really interesting.
Jumping the gun, but I like that.
Yeah.
And us on the 20th coming up here, we're gonna have Peter Naughton from Northern Waters Distilling. That's in Monaco, Wisconsin. We had him very early in our series of an evening with, and I'm really excited to get back to what they had, because what we tried before was kind of like experimental at that point, and what they have now is kind of their main line. And both of them do come in at 43%. One's a rye that has, I think it was like a 4-grain rye, and the other one was a bourbon. So we'll be tasting those beforehand, but we're going to talk to him about what's been going on up there, because they did get into the new distillery and have been there for a couple of years. So we just want to play catch up with him and see what the progress has been. Because on one of them, I know it does say it's a mix of large and small barrels. Because I remember when we originally talked to them, I think they were at 15s was the size at that point, and they were getting bigger at that point. So we'll see.
And they had some really fun stuff, including there was that the one-off wine finished rye.
Yeah.
That was really, really good. that was a really good whiskey, and sad that it's like, nope, we just have these few bottles of it basically. And that was it. But it was solid, and the wine finish was, as we love it, complimentary and not hiding anything.
Nope.
Yeah.
And one of the places that we originally found that allows you to distill your own whiskey, which I mean by that is they give you the grain catalog, and you can start spinning through it and pick what you want, distill it, and they will, at that point, it was put it in a 15-gallon barrel, and you could choose whenever you wanted to take it out. With the pure, and they
were also doing a gin class as well, right?
Yep, and a distiller for a day back then. A really neat thing, because Monaco is kind of northern central Wisconsin, but right when you're starting to get a lot of lakes, kind of like Minnesota, where it's kind of tight like that with them. So it's like a touristy attraction place. So one more neat thing to either go to or add into a trip if you're there for a few days. So
and speaking of visiting distilleries, I will have to say, because I did where
were you, sir?
I went to Denison, Texas, to our friends at Ironroot. did a fast drive down Friday, came back Saturday thing. But this is your public service announcement for going to visit the distilleries, especially the smaller craft distilleries. And as Dave in the chat mentioned, yeah, they went to Colorado, they went to Leopold and 291. He got to see the still. I'm sure he tasted a few things, but the people are always appreciative of your time at the smaller distilleries. They are always appreciative. Obviously, if you buy from them, and I'm not saying that distributors are evil, but I will say if you could cut distributors out, it could solve some problems. And if you buy directly from the distillery, you are cutting out at least one middleman and cutting out someone who might also stop them from being on a shelf somewhere else. So, but yeah, so I went down, did an Ironroot thing. I had bottles because Texas cannot ship bottles. And because you can only buy 2 bottles every 30 days from a distillery, because the devil says so. The devil's going to get you if you do. But yet I can walk across the parking lot and fill a vehicle up from a liquor store because the liquor store is not the devil. No way.
Well, they sprinkled some holy water on it. Now it's okay.
Exactly right. It's about the children is what it is. It's about the children. But we drove down because Ironroot, you can buy bottles from them. They'll hold them for up to a year. Who knows? Maybe they'll hold it longer if you give them a call. But there's other distilleries that do that too, like Glens Creek. They'll hold them indefinitely. They'll tell you that you buy it from the vault, they'll hold it indefinitely. But Ironroot, it was my 3rd trip down there. I think 3rd, maybe 4th, at least 3rd. They were fantastic as always. Got to meet Josh Galladay, the newest ginger of the group. Never met him in person. We got to hang out with it. My friend went with me, and it was his first distillery tour. Of course, Marsha led the tour, which was always fantastic, and went through the tasting room in the back. Got to try some stuff that's coming out, including some of the Saints Alley that's being worked on. And then they had there's a barrel down there that of some malts that they've done. They split them up, and it's like we got to try those and everything. And then they've got a new patio. And Marsha said, we got to break in the patio with them. So we got to hang out on the patio with them, which was really, really nice. And again, they are just some of the nicest people. And we did some muling, brought some things back for people. Which was all good. And actually in the chat here met Jesse Page, who met from watching the show here, lives in the Kansas City area, and so did some muling for him, for Kevin. Friend did a muling for a few. I think we said we brought back, I think, a total of like 19 bottles amongst everybody, which was fun because everybody's happy to get it because it's distribution is a thing. Good time. Please go visit these small distilleries. Please buy directly from the small distilleries. They do their best to give you their time. They do their best to give you a really good product, which is what we love talking about. We love our gingers. They've got some really fantastic stuff coming out. So
they're trying to take over the world. So they keep winning awards. So it's hard.
And you know what? So that was one of my bottles. I had a bottle waiting since April and one since June, and I totally forgot even which ones they were. And one of them was the Hypothesis that won the whiskey award. And when it got announced, I thought, I wonder if that's the one. So anyway, so that was it. That was enough of that. So go visit your distillers, buy directly from them, get to know them. They're good people.
But now,
enough of me.
Enough of Mike. Without further ado, our special guest of the evening, friend to many in the whiskey community for so many wonderful reasons, we are happy to have Miss Emily Chambers with us this evening.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I try to give back in all the ways that I can, given that I cannot do the cash exchange thing on the regular, so I do what I can for as many people as I can, and I hope it goes well. So that's what that is.
Well,
Well,
Everyone-
I think it goes really well because I can tell I'm mixed. I mean, yeah, we've conversed before, but this is probably the most direct conversing that we've done, and to say I'm tickled is an understatement.
Well, I'm
So,
very grateful. Thank you so much.
yeah. Oh.
So I don't know where you want to start.
Well, what would you like to start with? So we've got we have Death's Door Gin, we have a Mattie Gladden, Woodhat Bloody Butcher Red, and the Rua Single Malt. 4 things that we have talked about a lot in the past. So you want to tell us which one would you like to go with?
Let's start easy with the gin, I guess, and sort of warm up from there and pretty much move forward right now. I don't see.
All right.
Okay, never mind.
And I will say I did start my my blend already, but I did not add gin to it.
Oh, well, you're not very daring.
Well, but I might. I might. I want to try the blend without it because I started doing it and I thought this could go really well, or this could be like a Malort competitor if I do this incorrectly. So
I'm not nearly as offended by Malort as the rest of most of Whiskey Tube seems to be. I think it's kind of the mutant spawn of Aperol and Campari and the grapefruit.
That's
Yeah.
actually not a bad way to put that. But
I still contend it's not the taste of Malort; it's the aftertaste.
That's just pith, babe. If you haven't eaten citrus fruit in a whole slice, peel and all, then you haven't lived.
Okay. You can't see all of me, but I guarantee you there's not a lot of citrus going in this gullet. Unless it's covered in chocolate.
Well, that's not a bad option either.
no. All right. For those of you who don't know, Death's Door Gin came from Wisconsin. The distillery went out of business, but Dancing Goat Distillery purchased it and brought it back. And it when it originally came out and for its heyday was, I think, like the number 2 or 3 gin in the world at one point. It was really, really big. Took over, and it was big in England and pretty much all over the U.S. and world as far as gin goes. Obviously, with the other distillery retracting, it went away. But they wanted to bring it back and wanted to bring back one of the, a really unique brand from Wisconsin and not let that go away. They did make small changes to it from the old to the new version, and I liked it a little bit better because it's a little bit cleaner. But I think that's good enough with that. Most of the people in the chat all know where Dancing Goat Distillery is in Cambridge, Wisconsin. Limousine Rye is another one that they have, and they're finally starting to put out some of their own stuff as well too. So that should be interesting.
And I think it's very fair to say that you and I are not fans of gin.
That's accurate.
But Fred and bringing this gin and going through schooling this made me realize that there were actually gins out there that did not smell like a perfume counter. and I've become a fan of a few that are on this vein. And I know when we've talked about this in the past, especially with Emily on there, Emily's got very good descriptors and good ways of comparing. Clearly you've had much better food than I have, because I tend to say things like sweets but you have like I'll say a more refined palate. Might have sweets, but it might be a little bit more complex sweet than frozen Reese's, which is mine.
I'm not opposed to a good frozen Reese's or the candy aisle. I grew up flipping through cookbooks just like randomly and very intensely as a project with my grandparents. And then when all the cookbooks got boring, he would go through like every magazine that ever caught his eye and clip recipes out of there, and the newspaper like every week, and there would be meals planned around all the details of that. So well before I started drinking adult beverages, there was like the very detail oriented, okay, how do you approach all the pieces that go together? He was also a fireman, so there were some very interesting experiments that failed. Don't grow Brussels sprouts ever. Bad.
I agree with that.
And I'm probably one of the 5 people, or 5 or 10 people, that actually liked the seasonal Starbucks gin Christmas latte thing they had a couple years ago. I liked it, so I don't know.
Never heard of that before. That actually sounds
intrigued.
interesting.
They used for one of their holiday beverages 5 or I don't know 7, however many years ago. It was in a syrup in their holiday thing. It was not popular. It was violently unpopular. most people made the faces that Pat likes to make about anise, but I liked it, so it's all good.
I have to look that, see if there's someone has made that as a recipe, because it might be interesting to try it.
I'm sure I can find that for you. Not.
I bet you could.
At some point.
So, all right. So let's talk about you and gin, because when we have talked about gin on there, either you've had a good range of gins, or you're just not a chicken like we were because we were scared away at early ages. So what's your gin history?
Well, it's not really a good range. It's just that one of the few drinks, cocktails that I visually saw prepared or there was excitement expressed over was a straight gin and tonic. Growing up.
Done right.
So it was sort of the traditional thing, but because it's Florida, there was always a lot of citrus. So this sort of potpourri aspect that a lot of people tend not to like, it got cut probably more than most, because if you squeeze the juice of the citrus and you make sure you get the oils out of the peel, it's a much sort of rounder experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't necessarily like it, but I grew up sort of used to it and definitely not offended by it.
Well, and when we originally had this, Fred was saying that with this type of gin that he would use oranges as an accent more than lemons and stuff. Because
of the coriander. Yeah.
That would make sense. I would tend to even say Meyer lemon if you can get them over orange, but that's just me.
I did after that show, after we did stuff with Fred, I got out. I had the Death Store gin. I had wasn't too long after that, I think is when I picked up some Stumpy's gin, and then also had Ironroot gin that I hadn't opened. And I did try that with the Meyer lemon and orange and lime, because you have to try everything. But then since then, having introduced the Riegers in there, and those are the 4 that I've got. At least the 4 gins that I've got that are I like. They're sippable and they don't make me choke.
The fear is always that it reminds you of the car air freshener that looks like a pine tree and tastes the same way. So that's my fear.
That's a reasonable fear.
Yeah.
I guess I just grew up with enough citrus and scents around, and the byproducts of that being set on fire enough that I'm not really afraid of a burning pine tree or a burning orange tree or related. So that's just sort of my biases tend to skew atypically from a lot of people's. But yeah, it is a softer, kind of rounder on the palate, not really less intense, but kind of less severe, and there are less rough edges on it. So it's a nice way to start. Although I have not put a lime in this recently, so I'll have to do that later.
Yeah, and Dave has been to the gin lab, Dave and Adina, and that's a goal that I have to travel up there and do that.
Like I saw it and I was in it, but I did not do it. And I have other friends I know that did it already too. So
That would
Me too.
that would be pretty cool. And I will always credit Fred for making me like the right gin, because everybody has always said, "Oh no, you should try this one. Oh, you should try this one." And every time it was awful. And this is the one time I didn't feel lied to. And it was so, thank you, Fred, very much for that.
Okay,
but this is good. I haven't sipped on this for a while because I've only had it with gin and tonics.
That's what
But this is really nice to sip on.
I'm okay with it now. I think I do still like it in drinks more, and that's where I found that a little more dangerous for me. Well, let's not lie. That's when we had like 4, and then we were supposed to go on Whiskey Crusaders, and we showed up like 15 minutes late and a little tore up.
Yeah, things didn't go well.
They went okay, but it wasn't.
Well, they didn't go well. They didn't go well for Whiskey Crusaders. They went great for us.
Sounds like your problem was you didn't have enough bacon. Because if you had enough bacon, you would have been able to absorb more of the.
This is true.
So
it's true.
Oh, I have to tell you, Friday night after we left Ironroot, Fred and I were like, all right, we're gonna have to go get some dinner, because we hadn't eaten much. We had a little bit of gumbo at Ironroot. We're like, we really should get some dinner. So the hotel named all these places off, and one of them said, that sounds like a comfort food place. And they said, yes, it's comfort food. So we go to this place called the Cotton Patch, and like half the menu was chicken fried. So for an appetizer, we got chicken fried bacon.
Oh.
And one piece was great, but we get into that second piece and it was just so salty. It was so no, that's the thing. It was really thin bacon, and it was good, but they give you ranch, and they give you honey that you could dip it in, which did help with the salt, but still way too salty. But then my friend got chicken fried steak. What's that?
You need hot sauce.
Well, that probably would have helped too, but it was definitely too salty. But we both said we would have it again, maybe with some lower sodium and bacon, and definitely don't add any salt to it. But for dinner, I ended up he got chicken fried steak and I got chicken fried brisket, which again, it was an experience. The fat in the brisket did not work well with the chicken frying, but the flavors were really, really interesting and fun, and I would recommend for anyone to do that. But yeah, so that was my bacon epiphany. It's like, because who would have thought? I mean, you say chicken fried and bacon, clearly they have to go together very well. They did, except for the salt, but it was pretty good.
I can see it. I just was worried it'd be too thick. That's my only concern with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. So
it was all right.
Yeah.
This is a good question, actually, about the gin. My recommendation is the only one that we talked about, like Death Store, Stumpy's, Ironroot Gin. Rieger's gin's good. He's in north of Kansas City, so you can get Death Store up there. But as far as other ones, I mean, I think Midwesterners, the other Midwesterners like the Ewalds might have good recommendations for gins.
Yeah, I was gonna say you hit a couple of mine but otherwise I'd be going west with Leopold. He has a nice one too.
That's true.
And then you're going too far. So I think what they mentioned started with Rieger's. That was I don't want to say a little more aggressive, but Death Store only has the 3 components, so it's usually not too much. Plus, let's. What do you think about it so far, Emily? Is that thing up?
Oh, she's muted.
Okay, I just didn't know for a
Sorry.
second.
Here she is.
No, you're good.
Yeah, sorry. It's softer and rounder than a lot of gins tend to be. It does sort of have the piney flavor, especially on the nose, but it's not nearly as pointy, for lack of a better term, than it typically is. So it is a nice place to start, and it is a nice base for cocktails, like you said. So.
And like Bill was mentioned, Great Lakes has a nice barrel aged gin. Rehorse gin. That's actually kind of their flagship down there, besides the bourbons. But he was one of the guys in Wisconsin that kind of forged the way for everyone else in the distillery movement. So, and they do have a very nice gin that usually does win them quite a bit of awards.
More to explore. I'm eating some chocolate because I knew to go from gin to the other stuff I was gonna have to clear myself off. Plus, chocolate.
Okay, but what kind of chocolate?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's Reese's. I'm just teasing you.
One of the Aldi chocolate bars. It is milk chocolate, not dark chocolate.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Okay,
but the Aldi milk chocolate melts really, really well, and that's what I like about it. It's got a little snap to it, and then it melts really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have some of the darker variety of those.
Yes, and those are all. I mean, for chocolate and cheese, you just can't beat Aldi.
Pretty much.
I was gonna say, even for here, that they have a pretty good selection, better than some cheese stores themselves. So,
and their cracker selection
Yes.
is generally pretty solid as well. So that's nice.
Oh my goodness, Dave was right. The other one, Crooked Waters, Heather Manley's too. She has that Navy strength gin we had, and she has one that's a little more citrus. I think it was called Sundog, was the other one, and they could actually get that on. There's an airline now that's housing her cocktails for flight.
Nice.
It's in flight. It's a nice place to start. I'm going back through my samples here. I don't see the Rua in what I have.
Uh-oh.
Michael.
I have the Great Wagon. I have the Mattie.
That's it. Great Wagon is Rua. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And that's okay. It's just labeled differently, and I can't. Okay, cool. Never mind.
No,
Where do you want to go next?
I don't know. I was assuming proof order because I didn't know anything else. If you have any other suggestions, then I'm open.
Rua is probably the more delicate of the other ones coming through, so it might be a better one to start off with.
That would be accurate too, because that's the next one up the scale wise.
All right.
Yes.
And this is now officially the last of. I was hanging on to that bottle too. It was a bottle from what was it?
Brunhilde?
Release 56, but it was one of the ones back when they only aged at 16 months.
Well, that's
because then he changed it and moved things around. So
a new still. This is Brunhilde
new still. Yeah,
is what this one is.
Yeah.
But Ollie Mulligan from Great Wagon Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. Another reason to make a quick stop there. This was early on one of the ones that kind of stole the show late in the year for me, just because of the flavor profile. Really interesting. I don't want to get all gushy about it, but that's an all-star episode. This is one that made an impact one year.
It was an early one that it hit all of us the same, because it was just a good experience all around. We all had different bottles, all had different batches, but all had the same experience. And I remember our note was frosted apple cinnamon bear claw.
Yes. And now I'm getting a little bit of lemon on it as well too, but otherwise that is pretty accurate. Yeah, with the frosting. Problem with this is it makes me want to go get a bear claw.
Yeah.
Just smelling this is like I should have already gotten one on the way home, because I'm going to be irritated now later.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And I talked to Ollie about stuff, because we had an older Quinn's version. He said there's a new Quinn's version coming out as well too. So we'll maybe have to look at a pre and post Brunhilde, the still difference that they had when they jumped up. Oh, this is just the standard release, correct, Mike? Yeah.
Yep.
Just one of the earlier ones. That's all. Sorry.
So Emily, is this your first time having Rua?
It's the first time I think I had unfinished Rua. I had Rua before, but I believe it was the port finish, and then maybe there was another finish at some point. The port finish was mind blowing.
Yeah, it was a bomb.
This is really good, but this is not that kind of impact, which is fine. But
yeah, no, that port was a good American single malt port bomb. It was,
and it was like
I think I said it was the yeah. That's
the one. John was the same one I had. Yeah, same one that.
It's like just getting smacked with pie filling.
That was amazing.
So I agree. But the first time we had this kind of, just like you said, apple cinnamon bear claw, a little bit of lemon, just the baked pastry note on it. And I think when I go in here, the first time we had it was getting around Christmas time, and it was like, ooh, this kind of fits that that level. But this probably was 46%. If even this was at like say 56, but most of their cast strengths are like 60-ish when they do them, like 58 to 60 when they release at that point. I think just at that point alone, you might get a much more, impact from what was there. But this is a really fun. This is one of the ones that I didn't think, if you blinded people, I don't know if they'd be able to pick out it was American.
No.
When you have it, I know I would have a problem with that. Just because of the heather creaminess kind of in the back end of that.
This could just be me, but one of the other childhood memories for me is making jelly in the kitchen with my grandparents with muscadines that we had, and so I get much more of that, like the whole grape with the seeds and the peel.
Okay.
So not really like a raisin thing, not a quote unquote traditional grape, but that thick skinned, like right when you, like if you've ever had like a wine grape and you've just taken one in your mouth and popped it, like that first second.
Yeah, I get that now when you're kind of warming up a bit here, but I definitely get that.
It's more vibrant than I remember it being on the palate.
I think it's bright. It's brighter than
I remember it being sweeter. But it's been a while since I've had it. And the bottle, when I poured the samples and sent it out, the bottle was like, it was about half full. And so since it got that low, I sent the samples and then saved some aside for me. And then I put, I don't want to call it an infinity bottle, but I have a decanter that I go through patterns of putting things in. And so I thought I would rather put it in that than let it sit. So it wasn't, a low bottle that had a lot of interaction with air. So,
So, do you have any other single malts or just malts in general? They do not have to be American, but is there a single malt out there that's your favorite, Emily?
Not really specifically that I could think of off the top of my head as far as the single malt goes. I like pretty much anything as long as it has. It's even for me, it's less about proof itself and more about like a good sort of oil character, so that it's not straight ethanol, but you have somewhere for the flavors to go with the esters and stuff. If I want straight alcohol, that's whatever clear is for. I don't really want straight. If I'm drinking whiskey or aged spirits, I want aged spirits in particular. Like I want to be able to taste. I want to be able to taste the grain. I want to be able to taste the age, whatever it is. So I don't really have a favorite one as much as I just want a really good version of whatever it is.
Yeah. Something that made an impact. I get that.
Yeah.
I want to be able to feel it as much as taste it, if that makes any sense. Like I don't mind
Abs-
being
yeah.
slapped around, but I don't I don't drink to get wasted. I want to be able to enjoy the full experience. So that's kind of where I tend to start. I really do. I like rye. I've experienced very few ryes that I have not liked, which is relatively rare, I guess, for a lot of especially women that I know in the whiskey world. A lot of people are a lot more specific on which ryes they like or don't like. I've had very few ryes that I disliked to this point.
That's a neat niche. I like that, and it's a growing one, and there's a lot of people in it. So that's a good. There's plenty of good experiences to have with that. I like it. Excuse me. I'm sorry about that, everyone.
Okay, so I'm going to ask, what flavors do you not like, Emily?
What make you make faces that
Yeah.
I make when we're having anise?
I tend not to really like a sherry finish,
Hmm.
which is a weird thing to say because I know like sherry finish is very popular in especially our corner of whiskey too. I have tasted maybe one or two sherry finishes that I've really enjoyed. Like it's too syrupy. Oh, and the one rye that I had that I hated, that I like physically was angry about when I tried it was the Angel's Envy rye that is the rum cask. Somebody that I knew had really talked that up for me, and it was before I was really into whiskey. And I was out somewhere, and I was like, I don't want to buy a bottle of this. I want to try it. And so I got it. I paid $30 fucking for a pour, and it tasted like straight maple syrup. And I was mad because if I wanted maple syrup, I would have asked for somebody to go in the kitchen and get me a cup of maple syrup and done a shot of that.
And $12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine if you paid the whole $110 for that bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing. Like, I was at an event and I went out to somebody, and he's like, "What are you drinking?" Because of course, people see me and they figure, "Oh, you're just in it to. You must not know what you're in for," kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at me and he goes, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Whiskey." And he's like, "With nothing in it." And I'm like, "No." And so it was high enough proof in pre-COVID. So he asked to taste it, and I was just like, "Here." And he took a big sip, and I'm like, "Okay." And he nearly like fell over, and I'm just like, he's like, I'm like, "Okay, well, it was half worth it for the entertainment of watching your reaction. So that might have been worth half the ticket price." But you know, it did what it was supposed to do, but that just didn't taste like whiskey to me at all. So I was mad about it. Because
And there's some of them that are like a finished whiskey when you have them. I mean, not just finished, but like the below 40 proof version, where like you said, kind of like a syrupy edge to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I wanted Mrs. Butterworth, I would have gotten that. And it wouldn't have cost me, it would not have cost me $30.
How is that not a decanter for somebody? Mrs. Butterworth? I'm just saying, like, that should have been used at some point.
Maybe if you find one of the old glass bottles, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
That'd probably work. The plastic probably wouldn't go well, but yes.
Showing my age.
Well, you know,
That's
hit
all right,
up the thrift stores and you might just find one. That would be a good conversation piece.
Yeah,
All right.
and doubtful it's leaded glass, so you could be safe.
Probably not. You're probably okay as far as that goes.
All right, you can get that opinion before we move on to the next one. Kevin has questions. He wants to know your feelings about Dickel.
I'm not offended. Also, I can't see the chat tonight because technical gremlins are following me, so I expect you all to behave. I will be watching you on the replay, but for now. You're relatively safe.
She can ban you post-actively.
She will retroactively kick you out.
Yeah. Dickel is okay. It's not my favorite, but I can deal with it. I've actually had, I forget where, I got Dickel White Dog at some point, and I actually have liked the White Dog from Dickel better than the actual like aged stuff in general. What was the one that came out like last year or the year before that everybody, the 13?
Oh, the bottled and bond 13.
Right, the bottled and bond that everybody really liked. I've not had that one yet. I've had the simple ones, and Dickel is generally okay unless you get like the grape note on it. Now, I don't mind a grape note if it's a whole grape note. If it's grape like Dimetap, like straight like grape flavor, I'm not a fan. If it's, I like fruit flavors. I like food flavors. I don't really like candy flavors, so I'm not a fan of like grape runts or the banana runts.
Notes. Yeah, I got you.
So if it's a note and it tastes like actual food, then fine. If it tastes like runts, then I'm not down for it. If it tastes like, I can tolerate Flintstones as long as they're not the grape Flintstones.
Whatever character that is.
That's Bam Bam? I don't know.
I haven't looked at them in years.
Yeah.
They probably have them in gummies now, so they're kind of.
Oh, they absolutely do.
They do. Yeah,
those are more expensive.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm not opposed to Dickel in the appropriate venue. In answer to your question, Kevin.
And like you were saying, Flintstones riding horses. It would be funny to see someone on the back of Dino, like the two kids, or Dino as like a bunch of stopper heads. I could handle that. Maybe that's someone else's expansion for a distillery coming up. That would be a good one.
Yeah, or a tater sticker with Dino. Yeah, that would work.
There you go.
I miss tater stickers. Some of them, they're just so hard to find really good ones. Everyone thinks they're great, but almost like finding one that's fantastic is just almost rare for me.
I've kept a library of the cool ones that I have found, and the ones that I really like. So there are some good ones. You can see some good ones out there occasionally, and some that are very clever, and some that are lawsuits waiting to happen, which I think is hilarious. So, okay, so we should move on to the next one. I would suggest Bloody Butcher goes last because Bloody Butcher's gonna. I would think it would overpower.
Yes.
So
I opened that before earlier, and man, I was getting all the fruits and stuff out of it. I have to put it like behind the screen right now, just to keep that away from me for a second. So
yes,
yeah, I was surprised when I opened it the level of fruit, and that was actually when I was pouring. That's what made me mess up because I thought I had everything in proof order, and then I looked down at the label, and it's like, wait, that's the Bloody Butcher? Crap. Where's the rest of my order now? Oh.
So this next one, it's not the standard release of Mattie Gladden. This is a Mattie Gladden from the Frankfurt Bourbon Society single barrel pick. So it is it's still Mattie. It's Mattie with a different pair of shoes on. But this is 52%, 5.5 years. So it's not the standard bottled in bond. But we've talked a lot about Mattie, not just because we're friends with Alan, but because Mattie was a badass woman, and it's been one of my favorite bourbons. Period.
That's one of my favorite bourbon stories. When people talk
about
a brand or like a release or something, other ones pay homage and stuff, but rarely do you pay homage to like someone that should have a PBS special, but at the same time it should be crossed with drunk history.
Because that's true. But you think about, I mean, just her as a what she was able to accomplish as a woman of that time. taking no crap from anybody. But the girls working for her in her, I don't know if we can call it a brothel or should call it a brothel, because the girls had to be educated, because that was, it said the entertainment wasn't just for the bedroom. They had to sing, they had to learn languages. She gave them health care. I mean, this was a very progressive woman who just so happened to not take any crap from anybody, including shooting one of her husbands, after she divorced him and before she married him another time.
and 5 husbands.
Yeah. Yes.
4.
Four. Yeah.
Because like 3 and 5 are the same guy, like you mentioned, who got shot.
Yes.
So like Liz Taylor, but scarier.
Yes.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, she's like, that's pretty prominent, and for people not to care for you to be on 4 or 5, like back in that time frame.
Well, again, what are they going to say to her?
But
yeah, and that husband who was, I think it was, I think it was Percy Gladden was his name, was also completely enamored with her, which is why he came back after getting shot in the face. But he's the one that kept a lot of her stuff, and I guess stayed devoted to her until he died, after she was gone and after her kid was gone. So.
And rumored to be mistress to P.T. Barnum.
Yes.
That's true. That's supposedly that's where the money came from.
So,
supposedly.
Emily, is this your first? This isn't your first time having Spirits of French Lick, right?
No. I have a complexity sample. I think that I think it's complexity that I've been like savoring.
Yeah.
And I think I had a finished Mattie before. And I don't remember whether I had the regular Mattie or not. I know I had a finished one, and there was another one, but I don't remember whether it was the standard issue or not.
I can tell this has got the extra year on it. I also almost cleared up my nostrils there for a second.
And my problem with Mattie is when the bottles get open, they don't last very long. And I've been sharing a lot, and I have one bottle of Mattie Release 1 that I'm waiting until I get a new bottle of Mattie so I can compare the two. And this one that I got from Frankfurt is almost gone because I start sharing and Mattie disappears really quickly. People go into it quite a bit. So yeah, I need more of it. It's just all around. Like honestly, if you told me pick one bourbon, that's the one bourbon you could have, I would be totally fine just only having Mattie Gladden.
This is different than I remember. I'm trying to figure it out.
I agree too. Like I said, the one I have downstairs, I don't want to run and go grab right now, but
I know it's different. And I can't remember what Amzie told me when they picked it, because they did a pick of Lee and a pick of Mattie, and I remember him saying the Lee pick was his favorite of the two. And when I had the Lee and the Mattie side by side, the Lee pick from Frankfurt leaned more towards what I like from Mattie, from the original Mattie, than this one does. But yet this one still has those Mattie characteristics to it. Because this is not as, because Mattie although it's high rye, and you get that little bit of the nice rye bite to it, but it's not really aggressive. And this one doesn't have that as much as the standard Mattie does.
I think it smells a little flatter on the front end. When you have it right before it goes rye, I get cola. Like a cola, like right when you open your mouth and the air kind of rushes in.
Yeah.
I get like a little bit of cola, and then other than rye and other flavors, the bread kind of starts taking over and morphs a bit.
You know what it is more than the cola? That root beer candy, which has some of that to it, and then it has that little bite to it.
I was thinking more lemongrass than anise, but I see where you're going.
I would lean towards the lemongrass because I get a little more of that brighter note to it on the back end.
True.
A little more
It's a little
effervescent.
greener, and there's a little more chlorophyll.
That's such a good way to put that. That's a fucking misused word. Unused for me. Nice, Emily. I'm going to pull that one back in.
I have a lot of spare words.
I like them. We're going to need them.
And we are lacking in ours. Mike like this good.
Bear claw. Yum.
Frosting, pastry, fruit, all of which are good. But my first instinct is always, okay, but what kind of fruit? And then you go citrus, and I'm like, okay, but is it lemon or is it orange? Or is it lime? Because there's gradations in between there. And I always want to know, like, I want the detail.
Right. Fucking Kevin. You made a comment from the chat. For me, yeah, once it opens up once you like little air and it kind of the flavor rolls back forward over my tongue and then it kind of comes back. Brown sugar, molasses, black pepper. As you said, there's like a lemon note.
It's like a slight lemon, though. It's not like full citrus. It's just
no,
yeah,
but more than what I was. I don't want to say more than I was expecting, but it was heavier than what I was. Yeah, heavier than what I was expecting.
Yeah,
I got like a weird like Aquafresh on the side of my tongue, like a little bit of a toothpaste. I don't.
I'm having a touch more because I have to.
I have to work on my blend. Go with that. There. That's all set up over there.
And this one is good. I do like it, and not to diminish it at all. The standard Mattie is my favorite, and that one I need more of it.
God. We're doing another night where everything's it's not quite it's not hazmat night like Tri-Fly was, but
we should do hazmat night.
you're gonna need bacon or something for hazmat night, though.
I do not disagree with that.
You're gonna need something actively to soak it up.
Well, and like we say, Whiskey Crusaders and Will, and they're 100% right about baking your bacon. If you are putting it in the pan, you are doing something wrong for mass consumption. That's just going to keep the grease. You need to get that out. Baking your bacon is the way to go.
Even better if you put it on a cooling rack and then inside a sheet with it, so the grease has somewhere to go and it doesn't sit in the grease.
Yeah. So we were discussing bacon after eating the chicken fried bacon, and I remember there was a family growing up that they came over on Saturday. A few of the kids, there's like 5 or 6 kids in this family, and they'd come over and they were going to make bacon, and they just really quick dabbed it in flour before they put it in the pan because they said that's how they made it. And I remember thinking that was the weirdest thing until I tried it, and so it wasn't really, battered or fried, whatever, but it did add a little something to it. I've thought about that many times, and I need to do that again to see if memory served that it was really good. But the best part about bacon is just eating it.
Yeah. Anyway, well, it was like one of those times when I first had chocolate covered bacon. Like there's hesitation at first, and then yes, it's wonderful. Oh, and the candied bacon. Yeah. We did try that earlier. Well, late last year, earlier this year when we had Paul on, and
that was pretty good.
Very simple recipe, but turned out really nice as well too. But I said my wife forgot about why we had parchment paper. I was like, that's for the bacon.
Ain't for drawing.
Oh, it could also be for cookies, but
Yeah.
you know, save it for bacon.
All right. Mike's
Okay.
got us going to. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I started nosing on the Bloody Butcher because I finished the other one. So,
Oh,
Emily? What's your thoughts on the final thoughts on this, Mattie Gladden?
It's a lot smoother than I remember the regular Mattie being. You know, I like the ride, but this is a lot rounder to me than I remember the straight Mattie. Which I mean has its place.
Yes.
But it's this one plays a little softer and a little more gently than the regular Mattie seems to. So
I would definitely agree with that. It's good. It's not as good as regular Mattie.
Yeah, well.
And whenever I get some, I'll make sure that that the delivery gnomes get you some.
Oh,
you're gonna just keep feeding the unicorns.
Oh yeah.
You gotta do that. You gotta keep people happy.
That's right.
Where was that one thing? Sorry, I was trying to find that one. Next piece. I don't know. You got us going to Texas. It looks like next, or are you going to?
No, this is Wood Hat.
We're going to Wood Hat next.
This is the Wood Hat Bloody Butcher Red.
Okay, I gotta get that glass back. Sorry, I thought we were going to Lone Elm. No, you were taking us to a tour of Texas for a second.
No, this is Wood Hat Bloody Butcher Red, 60.6%.
Wait, no, but
Barrel
the 5 points is a little bit lower. The Lone Elm is 60.2.
Yeah.
So if that's where we're going. So which way do you want to go?
You know what? Let me do it because I don't have the Lone. Well, I've got the Lone Elm here, but I don't have it poured because I don't know why, but I forgot about it. But why don't I do that? That means we're having 5 instead of 4.
I don't know what you're talking about. There's more samples. To have.
Well, there is more to have, but I do have another glass. Okay. So this is the Lone Elm single barrel wheat.
Okay.
60.2.
Who they just won best wheat in the world, right? Wheat
As
whiskey.
They should have.
Well, it's as far as I'm considered, when I first had it, it's one of the ones that should be in people's conversation of top 5 when they have it, as far as wheat whiskeys, just because it does step outside from your standard Wellery-ish profile. But look
at that.
Dark is a son of a bitch. Holy cow.
Well, apparently there's been a Lone Elm single barrel that was done that was black. And the Crusaders obviously had that one because Matt's got everything, as he should. Mm-hmm. But the licorice folks were saying that Lone Elm put out 160 proof wheated that then they used in one of their Grayson blends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I would have liked to have tried that 160 proof Lone Elm wheated because I'm sure it was quite a bit to handle, but I bet it was a lot of fun.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get a couple of things moving here as well too.
And yes, Kevin, you are correct. That Brooklyn wheat and that dry fly wheat were both pretty awesome as well.
The Brooklyn rye, you sent me one recently as well, and that was amazing.
Oh, yeah, that one was very surprising. I was not prepared for that. Oh, dear. Copy and paste one.
Okay.
There we go.
Ooh. There. I'm glad you guys kept me on track. I don't know why I forgot about the Lone Elm. I forgot about pouring it, but
what's wrong with that?
Well,
they actually, and if you're watching here in the chat, they recently became available in the Wisconsin market. I think it was April, May, really, when that happened. So available for you to try. Namus, I know, has honey, and a normal one. So that's one place I know you can get it.
Mm.
My nose is kind of flat. Oh, flat. Boy, that jump. The flavor just jumped up.
Yeah.
Whoa. Like I forgot I was drinking 60 because like I don't know if my nose is feeling a little flat or stuffed up right now. But whoa.
Oh,
I have to go back on that one. Richard, going back to the bacon, brown sugar and 5-spice bacon.
Yes.
I think that's a yes. Exactly.
That's it. The 5-spice. You mean the Chinese 5-spice?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Amazing.
Like just a confirmation from Emily. Yep, do it.
Yep.
All right.
I do really. I like this whiskey, but and maybe Lone Elm does do this for 5 points. Maybe they make it, but I wonder if they do or if they would be doing a malted wheat.
I know they hadn't when we talked to them, and I was talking to one guy recently, but I did not ask him that. I can get caught up on that.
Okay, Emily, what do you think here?
I'm getting kind of dark chocolate and some cedar, like wood, but not just oak.
Yeah, not offensively woody, especially for Texas. And even the standard Lone Elm wheat, for people that go crazy for Weller, like get that because it's better. I feel like it is better. This is
we
substantially better.
Craft whiskey fans would definitely lean that way.
Yeah.
I can see how if you're the other side of things and you haven't really bridged reaching into that realm, how it could be a shock to your senses, but I don't think it to be an offensive shock to your senses if you were in that more kind of standard wheat whiskey release. I think it just is a flavor punch that you're not accustomed to.
Yeah. And I get on the nose of it too, because I get the chocolate also. But the kind of like a chocolate pie crust too.
Yeah.
I get I'm sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. No,
by all means. Sure, yes. I was just saying I was getting a little bit of chocolate on the actual taste and up front and the tip of my tongue is where I'm getting a lot of that before it rolls back. Yeah.
And I can't get Weller easily where I am, and I don't care enough to try. But I don't. Yeah, the one time I got an Eagle Rare, I didn't really like that either. But that's just me being weird again. But my reference for Wheater is more Maker's Mark.
Okay.
As kind of a base comfort level. So this is definitely not that kind of sweetness. Which, I mean, I like Maker's fine, but this is definitely not. I wouldn't guess, based on my experience, if I didn't know this was a Wheater, I wouldn't guess it. Because it doesn't have the sweetness and the kind of red fruit that I tend to expect from a Wheater. So,
especially when you're mentioning Maker's Mark, I can see that completely what you're talking about. Because for me, where you get more of that cherry on Maker's Mark on the finish and stuff, this has more like a brown sugar kind of finish and a little bit of wood that's going for a while on mine, or for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. Thank you, Zopher. I appreciate it. I'm definitely going to need some coffee after this.
And that we'll get into as well too, because you are a coffee fan. And is that are those notes ones that you like in whiskey? Like, since you're since you like coffee, is that something you like to find in your whiskeys as well too?
I like it sometimes, but I don't like it when it's. I like sugar, but I don't really like to drink sugar.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm getting sugar, like I want a piece of cake or something, like I want something more substantial. The one whiskey that I can remember off the top of my head that had a really good coffee mocha note that I really loved was the Ironroot Sister City.
Oh, okay.
That was a really nice coffee mocha cinnamon, but not too like smack you over the head with coffee, like, or sugar. One of the running things that I tell people is I want my coffee to taste like coffee. Like if I want a frappuccino, it's not because I'm thinking I'm going to get coffee out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I want coffee to taste like coffee. If I want a milkshake, I'll go get a milkshake. And if I'm planning for that, that's fine. But don't tell me that they're the same thing.
That's fair. That's very true. Let's see here. There's discussion about what cedar tastes like in the chat there. Oh, he's not crazy about Eagle Ale either. I'm gonna say it's fine for me. It's one of those ones that if it were at a bar, if I were having a bar, that could be kind of your base whiskey for people. Not stand up, not anything blow your mind. It's fine.
Right. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible. It was not what I wanted. And for whatever reason, the bottle that I got, and again, this was before I really was into the whiskey community, really had a very strong mint note to it. And that wasn't what I was looking for. And it was like, if I wanted a mint julep, I would make a damn mint julep. Like, I don't want it pre-mixed.
Well, to say, it is neat to see how some of them change over time, though. Like I've had some earlier on in my whiskey journey, and then as time goes on, they lose the lack of luster as you've had other things. You know, like it was exciting then, but now that I've had this and this and this, my scale has changed. You know, like my wow factor is at a different place.
Yeah.
The one time I bought Blanton's, it was for MSRP and it was a gift for someone. And he really liked it, so it was like job done. But you know, I would never look for it. Even when I could easily get it for MSRP, and definitely not now.
So I'm just putting some of these up because Emily can't see all the chat this evening just because of the computer system.
Thank you, Oz.
Yes. And then Kevin starts stirring the pot.
Well, there's not Bland's is smooth.
Yes, it is smooth.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what I want for whiskey.
Not an untrue statement, Kevin. You want to bait me into saying something about Elijah Craig tonight too? And I didn't say anything bad that night. I just said I just didn't want to hear it.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
Just wasn't good.
It wasn't
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
It was the wrong choice of brands at the moment. But
It was not in support of Elijah Craig.
it wasn't against. I just said I was sick of seeing everyone else do a review of it. That's all. That's how our channel was kind of spurned, but not from Elijah Craig because, like I said, sadly, they're like Jack Daniels, one of the few, when you get past that first tier of whiskey, their next level lands in the $50 to $70 range, and it's really underrated.
Yeah,
in my
Jack Single
opinion.
Barrel Proof. I like that a lot.
It's their whole little lineup is underrated once you get past like old number 7. It's pretty damn tasty. I remember at Distill America last year, my one friend Rick, he had never had them. He came and holy shit! I'm like, what? Jack Daniels is actually really good. I'm like, I didn't want to. Yeah, that's true.
And for a low proof pour too, I did get to try the repeal batch when it first came out, and that was actually surprisingly flavorful for the proof level that it's at, or that it was at the time. It was like 86 maybe, and that had more flavor than I thought it would. And it was like $15. I was like, hey, this actually tastes like something other than Old Number 7. Cool.
Getting one of the too many screens open. All right.
Yeah.
So that was the weeder. Or
all right.
Wheat one from that one.
Yeah. And now I'm back on track. So I'm nosing the Bloody Butcher again. The butter toffee fruit nose.
You're switching over? Yeah, that one has so very kind of a fruit bomb right away when I got an egg in for glass. That's this one. Coffee, cocoa, richness. Almost a little, I don't want to say pipe tobacco because it's fruitier than that, but it's like the edge of a cookie, like right where it gets burned. I don't know. There's a lot going on in this. That's why.
I'm a big fan of the edges. Yeah.
Oh, and this is, we've talked about Wood Hat a lot, and I think Wood Hat is one of the reasons that I got hooked up with Pat, because I sent him some Wood Hat stuff, and then obviously Gary's been on multiple times, but this was the first Bloody Butcher I had that I liked, and not surprising that Gary made it, but just because he's kind of a corn guy.
I'm going to say this is surprising because it's one of the few where it's Bloody Butcher dominant, or all Bloody Butcher, where most people have it landing at that 5 to maybe 10%. This is all Bloody Butcher, so it's a whole different beast than what people are used to taming, and a lot of times other people have issues kind of toning it down or getting it in control.
And this is one, this is single barrel of the Bloody Butcher Red. 60.6, as I said earlier when I was wrong. But it's, Gary's got his process down pretty good. And we've definitely enjoyed having him on the show. And Wood Hat's been a fun thing to share with a lot of people.
And there was like a rainbow or glass bead corn that he was doing with something. Has that come out yet? I don't remember.
The gem. Yeah. Yes, he did. I don't know if it's out. I need to go back there and visit to find out. He did do a bunch of experiments, and I did do a tasting of some experimental stuff of his, and it was crazy. I mean, there was an orange corn that tasted like orange Julius. It was just unbelievable. And then he had some hazmat and other stuff, but I know that he's got some of his odd stuff aside from at the distillery. The only other place that I have heard that the odd stuff of Gary's, or at least the different single barrel stuff, is at the ABV barrel shop. And you can look that up. That actually, I think they are now shipping, or at least they have someone helping so that they can ship it. And it's basically all barrel picks from a store.
What they do there.
Yeah. But yeah, that gem, it's a good question if he's got it out, because them and Ironroot, because I know Ironroot has done some stuff with gem
one too.
But Ironroot's like, they're smart because they're smart in many ways. But instead of trying to do one whole corn, they're like, look, let's start with this base. That 100% corn whiskey, and 95% of it is this one. That 5% of an heirloom corn can make a massive difference in the flavor. but it's all very controlled in how they do it. But
yeah, there were the other people I know that had gem corn in the works already as well too.
Yeah.
So
Somebody we know might say it's alchemy or something.
it's right. Or witchcraft.
Or both.
Yeah.
True.
So and Emily, I'm curious because one, how much wood have you had? And I'm also curious if you've had Bloody Butcher before.
I'm trying to remember. I know I've had wood hat before. I don't remember whether it was Bloody Butcher specifically. I'm getting a lot more smoke off this, but it's not the traditional like wood smoke. It's like if you like smoked the corn cobs. Like it's a sweet smoke. With sort of that grassy pepper and something else I'm trying to place.
For like 2 seconds, I was getting Mongolian barbecue with that like smoke.
Yes,
that's where my mind went to. Is
That's
like,
not
getting the
that's
smoke.
not far off. Without the any type of soy sauce.
Mm-hmm.
there's a meaty note from somewhere. Yeah,
Because I get the sweet notes right off the bat with it, the toffee fruit, but then as you get into it more,
it sounds crazy. That meaty note is almost like for me, it's like it feels like a mushroom in my mouth.
Yeah,
like texturally. I'm not saying that's the flavor, but that's
What type of mushrooms are you talking about, Pat?
I was never. I may have dabbled in that, but I was never. My brain was never a fan of letting go of reality. How about that?
All right, so you're talking like more of a cooked mushroom, not a Friday night mushroom.
Yes, a cooked mushroom, a little butter.
Okay, you know what I would like to try, and I might have tried this before and just forgot. I'm not going to do it tonight because it'll ruin the blend. I'd like to try to mix this with brimstone. That's smoked scrub oak with this in different quantities and see what that does.
Wow. It's just so thick with flavor for me. Like I'm having a problem deconstructing the second half. It's just they're heavy flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what is it? Oh, all right.
there is that sort of mushroomy, meaty, umami kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like it's been cooking in the pan, and there's a little char to it.
Yeah, not something I don't think I've ever. I don't want to say I've ever picked that up on a whiskey, but not really. And I've had this before.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like gravy almost than just the meat itself, even. So it's like the meat with the mushroom and like a little bit of the pepper and salt. It's not just.
It's almost like a stroganoff-y.
Yes.
Gary's Willy Wonka.
Oh, it's an everlasting
meal.
gobstopper. Yeah, that'll work.
Exactly. Everlasting whiskey.
Well, the finish has got like this peppery. It gets to like you said gravy. It has like this sausage gravy.
Yes.
Kind of finish for me. Like the little white pepper, black pepper, the gravy, a little bit of the meatiness is still sticking around to it. Very, very interesting.
Use this to make a gravy.
I might try that this weekend. You have no idea.
This would definitely put a different take in a red eye. Yeah.
Oh.
See? That's
no! I'm all in. Yeah.
All right. Let me get back up to the comments here. All right. Before we slide into our last two whiskeys, Emily, we do have. I think I got it.
Yeah, I have a link.
And I was
That's the extended link, but okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is why she's our red. She's better than me and all.
So
this shit.
no, it's so I am running a fundraiser for a local nonprofit, for which we're calling the Keep Life Rolling fundraiser, for which, and basically the point is, I don't know how much y'all know, but medical and adaptive equipment is expensive as fuck. And in order to keep your equipment going for as long as you can is also expensive, because even when technically you should be able to get it paid for through insurance or whatever, they want to take like weeks or months to cover costs for things. And if you depend, like I do, on wheelchair batteries to literally get out of bed, when the battery starts to go sideways, you need a new battery yesterday, not in 6 months from now. And average cost for what's called a complex rehab chair, or a complex wheelchair in my case, or the case of a lot of other people who use wheelchairs or related equipment full time, is like $400 for the batteries. You want to replace the wheels? $600 for the back. So there is a disability tax, and it's not cheap. The other fun fact, which you may or may not know about mobility equipment, is technically insurance only cares if you can get around the inside of your own house. They don't care if you can get out. They don't care if you need something else to do anything else. The only thing insurance will technically cover is the equipment to get you around your own house. So if you need anything else to move about the world, you're out of luck to fundraise on your own. So that's what we're trying to do with the whole keep rolling idea. Our initial goal is also, we've had a wheelchair van donated, and we are trying to get it towed and updated so that it can live on and benefit someone else. So we're trying to raise the initial like $1,500 to make that a possibility, and then just keep people in whatever small ways we can functioning to the best of their ability. So that's what that is.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing that you're doing for you and for everyone else in there. Just because, like you said, it's a lot of times that's a missed section, like you're describing, that people in the medical field don't hit all the gaps on.
No, and doctors don't really understand. Physical therapists don't really understand what it takes to really live a life with stuff, when needing supports of various types. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the most expensive, but it has to be the best fit for you. So it takes a lot of research and resources to be able to pull it all together and handle the logistics. So we appreciate whatever small things we can do to pay that forward. So thank y'all for letting me yak about that.
No, we'll be putting another, as long as you're okay with it, we'll put another post up about that as we link to the show tomorrow about this evening. So
yeah, that'd be
if
great.
you get a chance, you didn't, make sure you look at it tomorrow. It'll be right up in front of you, and you can take care of that and help people out in the right way. So,
well, one of the right ways. If you have a local 501c3, if you have an equipment bank you want to donate to, that's a great choice too. But if you don't, I know some ways to direct some stuff. So thank you.
You are welcome.
I had to switch over to another water. It's got me drinking all this food
Before you go into the blend.
Oh, a blend. We still have one or two left.
You still got the blend.
What about Ironroot?
Yeah, no, we can't forget Ironroot.
Good God, am I like that far off of everything?
Dude,
I've got all the glasses here, and I'm like way off. Okay, Harbinger Huckleberry. And it's like everything's like right by me, or at least it was. There it is. the Harbinger Huckleberry. Speaking of donating, this was a fundraiser bottle or charity bottle. How could I forget the gingers?
It's because you went to see him. You're all gingered out. They took a little bit of your soul. No.
I'm lacking in sleep too, so I'm still trying to catch up on all that. Make sure and add that to this delicious blend.
You were talking
Sure,
about the 5 spice, and it sucked up all the ginger.
That's exactly right. Yeah, the salt. Not enough ginger. I will have to say, and because the Huckleberry sticker on there. And speaking of Westerns, I will say I didn't want to say this early on the night, but I would like to give a toast to today. My dad would have been 79 years old, and Old Crow was his favorite. So appropriately enough. Sorry, sometimes it's hard to use words and stuff. Appropriately enough, today is the multi-night release of History of the World Part 2. And finally seeing the sequel to History of the World Part 1 would have brought my dad much great pleasure, as it brings me in. We'll be watching that in his honor. But yeah, so to Dad, happy birthday.
Cheers.
Happy birthday.
What do you think he would have thought of your whiskey journey?
So I had started on it. He didn't quite get it, and I remember. So at the time when Templeton Rye first came out, and of course it was the big deal because of the story. And the early Templeton Rye actually was way different than what was coming out because they were picking better barrels then, But I remember, going back up to Iowa where they lived and my friends down here, I was an early mule to go. So I would go and buy a bunch of bottles of Templeton and bring it back for him because you at that time too, you couldn't get a rye like that. Plus the story on top of it was, people liked it. And so sometimes he would pick up a bottle, for me, and it was like $35, for a bottle. And I remember him asking me, well, what makes this worth that? I was like, well, it's mostly the story, and stuff. And he goes over to the kitchen and opens up the Lazy Susan. And I remember he pulled out a bottle of Old Crow and he goes, $7.99, buddy. Because he'd take a shot of whiskey or use it for hot toddies. And Old Crow does make a good hot toddy. But that was his thing, and it was just because it was cheap, and that was Dad's choice. So
and it worked. That was the generation of it worked.
It did what its intent was. So, but yeah, we got into it, and it was kind of funny. He never he didn't expand on it. He asked questions about it, but he changed. I know he probably would have gotten into some and changed into some of that because when he always smoked cigars, but he mostly chewed cigars, and like he'd smoke them a little bit, but then he'd chew on them. But then when he had to retire early for disability, but when he did, he would people would bring him like better cigars than the El Verso that he would have. And then he would actually smoke them because like, oh, I can smoke these instead of just chewing on them, So it's kind of, equating that to whiskey too. It's like, yeah, old Crow's great, but yet you can actually sip on other stuff and kind of enjoy it. So I think he would have gotten into some of those things, but also as time went on, there was less drinking of Old Crow because of the pain meds and everything that he was on. So alcohol's not an option when you're wearing fentanyl patches and having to take oxy. So
that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no, or for some it is.
Well,
but but that's that's different. Not everybody can be Charlie Sheen. So
especially not now when they're just sanctioning chronic pain patients at scary levels. It's like, okay. Chronic issues all the time. That's why they're called chronic.
Exactly.
That doesn't make somebody there's a difference between having an ongoing issue and having a full-blown addiction.
Yep.
And conflating the two is bullshit.
Yeah. And honestly, part of the problem, and this is, with my dad, his doctor just kept prescribing. And my dad had a really high pain tolerance. I mean, he always did. But the guy, if he cut himself at work, he kept his sewing needle and thread, and he would sew his cuts back up. He was just, that was just dad. But he was on such high doses of stuff, and he would start to feel pain again. His doctor would just up it. He just kept upping it. He just kept upping it over and over again. Finally, got him to go see another doctor. And this other doctor is just like, I don't know how this is working. I don't know how you're functioning. And I remember getting mad at his doctor. He was hospitalized. And I remember yelling at the guy because he was like, your dad has no tolerance for pain. I was like, that's bullshit, because he used to until you started doing this. Right. And finally, Dad switched to another doctor, and this doctor said, you need a baseline, but baselining is not going to be easy or comfortable. And my dad had agreed to it, and he went in, and I wasn't there for it, but I know that he was begging to die because they put the medicine in that burns all of it out of your system. Mm-hmm. And it's not a comfortable experience, but he was able to start over from scratch and was comfortable. And it wasn't too long after that, then it was, palliative care and hospice, but at least he was not,
going back to manageable.
He was, and also, not non-functioning, because sometimes you would be, because you're on the high doses of that. And that's unfortunate. Some doctors just write prescriptions, and some people just write people off,
Right. One of the problems that's happening a lot now in the disability circle in particular is doctors, because of the heat that they're getting, they're just cutting people off. We're just not going to do pain prescriptions at all anymore. Period. And it's like, but if you've been at a maintenance dose for years, you cannot just cut somebody off.
Yeah.
That in itself is irresponsible as well, too. That's sorry.
Yeah, it's called eugenics. Anyway, I'll stay off that soapbox.
Yeah, no, it's a good soapbox because
Yes.
We had good healthcare discussion on the way back from Texas on Saturday too, because a friend I was writing with is in the industry. He's a nurse anesthetist, so he gives people medicine to make them sleepy, and has to deal with a lot of other things that people have had to deal with, and the lack of support that some medical professionals get, and also the lack of support that some medical professionals give their patients. So
yeah, sustainability is a long game for everybody. Has to be.
We should do a show on whiskey and healthcare.
I'm not against that.
I know
I mentioned to Alan about that the Persian view of it, where you discuss something sober and then you discuss it as you're drunk.
Yes.
And you know what? I'm totally for a show like that, because I don't know how far off you're really going to be from some of the things I argue.
Yeah.
I usually stay in my lane the whole way.
Yeah.
I might not.
Okay.
I'm getting blueberry coffee cake.
I was just going to ask. Yes. Getting back on track.
So blueberry, cream cheese, lemon, vanilla. A lot of vanilla.
I would agree with all of that.
A little bit of pastry, but more of the filling.
Exactly. I don't want to call it custard or anything, but I already had a sip of this, so.
And this, I remember when they did this was a specific release that they did as a fundraiser for the Fisher House Foundation for charity. All or 100% profits went to charity, and it is a Harbinger at 62.25%. But a single barrel pick for them. And Harbinger is always good anyway. And when it goes to charity, it's even better.
Yeah, I think this is my first Harbinger.
Oh,
if I remember.
So, I have to get you because I got the new Harbinger. I'll have to make sure that you get that. I was debating whether or not to get it, and Robert Licorice said that's his favorite Harbinger they put out in 3 years of the last 3 years. And then independently, Josh said the same thing. It's like, well, then I guess I'm getting that Harbinger.
Yeah, well, it's hard to turn that down then.
Is-
Yeah, one of those actually. I believe I'd have to look, and Kevin Rose would know it's in a box in his basement. There's a 3 Series box from Ironroot that I got from the Galladay a long time ago. They've been holding on to cask strengths. If you remember them years ago, they were a show, and there's rumors. There's starting rumors of something kicking around. Might have some more information about that coming up. But they did an evolution barrel pick where with Ironroot, where they picked a barrel, they took a third of it out, bottled it, then they waited 6-8 months, however long it was, took another third out, and then left the last third in there for, I want to say 9 months to a year. It was a long time that the last one was, just to show what oxidization would happen as it goes down throughout it. So it's just a neat way to see how things happen and progress.
Yes.
And we're going to have an event at some point where we have a tasting of those 3, so you can see the progression that happens, or just the way you can kind of change things in the barrel if you wanted to. You know, say you wanted to affect the barrel that way. Maybe you could kind of pull half out and really watch something torque the flavor scale for about a year or so, and then kind of blend that back into something else after you've gotten that extra addition or flavoring to it, or whatever happens. Sorry. Well, wound up now. You guys got me past the point of being. I'm back to happy now, and I'm got a little buzz on. Not good.
Well, this blend, because I kept messing up, this blend's getting bigger and bigger. Now, did I miss like 5 or 6 more that I need to add to this blend? I'm the one that put out the list, and I'm the one that totally ignored it. So,
well, this is why I was trying to pour before, and then I got screwed up, and then technology, and I was like, okay, well. I'm not acquitting myself as well as I wanted to, but yeah. Ironically, though, the first show of your guys' that I was ever like fully in chat on was one of the first time, a time when you had the Galladays on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I want to fight. And I didn't think you were serious, because why would anybody send me anything if I hadn't like been, buying super chats?
That'll never happen here.
You might get super chats, but I don't recommend selling tickets.
Our dozens of fans will never stand for that.
Yeah. No, it's that's not what that's supposed to be about. It's about people getting to try stuff you haven't tried before. I mean,
exactly.
If you can hit that wow factor on someone, and that's half the battle, is sharing it and sharing with people that matter and care. That's another thing. People that care.
And there's so much of the stuff though that like there's things that I can't get that Pat can get, and so it's exciting when you get to try something different. That Great Northern Rye. What a funky ass rye, and it was so good and so much fun. And being able to share. Like you probably could get Ironroot at a Total Wine in Florida, but not all of them. And muling the ones back that that we did, it was great. And I got to met Jesse yesterday and got him his bottles, and that's really what a lot of this is about, is just sharing it and being able to get the stuff to people. And finding things that you would not find at your local store, that it just happens to be either really good, just funky fun, or all of the above. And and because of some people's Excel spreadsheets and decisions, you're not able to get that.
Yeah.
Could be at the state level, could be a distributor. So,
and I have gotten really lucky afterwards, after that point, with other channels and other people being extremely generous to me, and I'm so grateful for all of it. But like, I was so shocked the first time with you guys, because I was like, you can't be
who are these
serious.
assholes?
No, it wasn't who are these assholes, because I'm me, so
Damn it.
no, it was just
I thought Pat was in prison.
Oh, there was a second when someone was coming out of my nose for a second. I really had to hold that there. Oh.
Don't injure Pat.
I'm all right.
We can scare him some other day.
Yeah. But I remember early on, I mean, one, you were always in the chat interacting with other people. And then on top of that, the things that you had to say were both relevant and snarky. But
aim for both.
Yeah. But also, I mean, you're in a lot of the other shows, chats, and contributing, and like a lot of people know you, and you're famous, lady. But but again, you're part of the community, at large.
Yeah, I am now. For there were a couple channels that I went into where I was like excited when I started out, and I was like, okay, I'm not a good fit for this. I'll just go somewhere else. It's fine.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly okay. But like I have a community of people at this point, but I never expected to find it. Especially when, like you said, it's about sharing, but I don't have a lot to share from where I am. Yes, I try I aim for it on the days. But now I'm
you also live in Florida too, so there are some limitations.
That's
you can legally kill people in Florida.
You can legally a lot of things in Florida. But
yeah,
it's just the way our public records work. But
and there's no history apparently.
Apparently not. There's no history, and according to the governor, I'm not supposed to exist. But whoops.
Yeah. I'm sure you look better in heels than he does. So
I would be very surprised if there's not like a frat party picture of him in heels.
No, he's been pictured in heels lately. Because they think it's because he's being mocked for being shorter than somebody else. I just think it's all
those
funny,
are the lifts that Tom Cruise wears.
Tommy lifts.
Because he's short, and the only person shorter than him that he deals with is David Miscavige, which is another side tangent. But okay, like that's a very Florida thing, and it's probably part of the reason our governor went into the Navy, where he could get dress whites, where the lifts just kind of blend in. But yeah.
I didn't even know about those things. No knowledge of them.
Yeah, I have to say the other night it hit me. Instead of doing the 70s theme for the artwork, I should have called this show Snark Side of the Moon.
Okay, well, that can be round 2 or 3.
That's
there
fair.
we go. All right, we'll do that.
We can make that happen. All right. So, what do we think of the Ironroot Huckleberry?
Like it.
Oh yeah, that's
it's Ironroot. I don't think that they would put out anything that was unsatisfactory or hurried in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I mean, there are some people who just don't really like Texas, and if you don't like Texas, you won't really like this. But
But they're the least Texas of the Texas whiskeys. I think.
Yeah, but I think this one hits a little harder than some of their other releases. At the 62, like it's not hard for in general at 62, but for them, feels a little more. Maybe it's because it's like a meatier feel to it. Last two felt thicker to me.
Well, as far as them putting out things that smell and taste like Texas, I got to try something there. That is it was smoked. I don't know how to say too much to I don't know how much they put out. It's gonna get used as a single barrel for somebody, but as a smoked whiskey, and it noses and it tastes like spent shotgun shells. and my comment to Robert was, "This is the most Texas thing that you guys have ever put out." And it would be so awesome if they. I mean, they it's not enough for them to release, for them because they would sell out in 5 seconds, but. Somebody will end up buying it for a single barrel thing, but it seriously, it was like I'm smelling the barrel of a shotgun, and it was great because it's like, this is weird, this will turn people off, and I love it. It was so fun. Okay. But that was the most Texas thing. Otherwise, I could see them, with their higher proof being more bold, whatever, but they're not in your face like other people are.
No. Sorry, Kevin.
Like
point.
That one.
I'm sorry. And the main reason I'll agree with 100%, Kevin, we brought it up on the show a few times before, is that's the price tag on that. Like, he made it one that broke down the walls and everything, but that price tag is immense. And until I had that one that Shannon got us, the Balmera one.
Balmeria. Yeah.
I hadn't had one that other ones were good and I like them, but I had not, in all honesty, hadn't had a crammed plethora, maybe 5 or 10 overall. That was the one that really, as far as the ones I'd ever had, that was the one that stood out to me.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of Shannon, she met us at Ironroot too. So.
What?
Yeah. And she's coming to Distill America.
Oh, she is.
She is.
Excellent.
So there you go. Yeah. Maybe or maybe not bringing somebody with her.
Oh, well.
Anyway.
Also understandable.
I've been nosing the blend.
I'm moving on to that one as well too, because I didn't realize we're at 2 hours. I didn't even fathom it whatsoever. Could have been on for another one, but my boss wouldn't be happy with me.
Well, let's say unless there's 3 or 4 more that I forgot about, but I think this is it.
Interesting. This one's I don't know, Jen's throwing this one off for me. I did throw that all in there.
Oh, you did? Oh, see, I'm going to try it without the gin and then put the gin in it.
One with and one without right now, but the one with gin is just got that. It's affected it. It's affected it a little too much for me.
The Rua and the Bloody Butcher are coming. Bloody Butcher more so, but the Rua and Bloody Butcher are coming to the forefront on the nose in this thing.
Mm-hmm. That's a good name. Kevin's the tater sticker for that Ironroot.
See, I was thinking the tater sticker should be Deadpool sniffing the hot barrel.
As long as you kept it legally distinct.
That's right.
You don't want Disney to be after you.
And they will too.
Yeah, Disney is serious.
I like someone's like, oh, we'll fuck with them. We'll do the Star Wars one. I'm like, how about not? How about you don't do the Star Wars one? Like, don't use Chewbacca. I
don't poke the mouse. They have armies of lawyers. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
The mouse, the Mickey Mouse from South Park, I feel is vaguely accurate.
It'll be interesting to see because one of the things our governor did was he took away Disney's self-governing rights recently, which is several levels of stupid. But sure.
Wow.
All the infrastructure Disney's been paying for their own stuff for 50 years, and you want to take that over just to have a dick measuring contest, good for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
In my theory, just who in the state wants that? Who wants to take that over? No, I wouldn't want any piece of it. You've done it for, like you said, 50 years. You just go ahead and do it. I don't want to add that to my plate whatsoever.
He just wants to prove he can boss people around, which it's not going to go well for him. Like, there's a base that likes it, but for the rest of people, it's like, dude, that again, you're not looking at sustainability.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Like Zopher said. Yeah. And again, hey,
Also,
keep government out of things. It doesn't go well.
I mean, government can be okay in small doses, but when they want to insert themselves into places where they haven't been before and simultaneously call it small government, it's like, dude.
The gin one's not a good combo. Sorry, I'm not slipping from that one. Holy wow!
I tell you, the normal combo though, I dig it.
There's not the fruit kind of fades back though. It's more the spice and the meat and the funk.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. I'm just. I have to pay attention to Florida politics more.
Okay, so the joke with that is one of the things is he said one of the stories is from people who went to college with him when he was dating quote unquote eligible females. His one of his litmus tests would be he would go to a prospective date and say, "What do you think about Thai food?" No, but it gets better because if anybody looked at him sideways and went to correct him and went like, "Wait, do you mean Thai food, dude? Like pad Thai?" He would walk off because he could not stand to be corrected by a woman.
Oh,
So
I thought
badly.
I would have. Part of me would have thought he was just being like really dirty with the question, like
Same here.
Because you get slapped at the same time, like.
Because it reminded me of this little Italian friend that we had, Mario. I know, that's too on point. But Mario's pickup line, when he would say, he'd go, "Hey, you got a little Italian in you?" And if they said no, he'd say, "You want one?" And if they said yes, he'd say, "You want some more?" But it was the way that he would say to you, "You got a little Italian in you?" That was just really creepy. That reminded me of Mario.
But in that case, you know what's on the tin. But in the case of Ronnie, like he did, because he was just that conflict avoidant.
Yeah.
That he was that scared of.
Are you just not good with pronunciations?
Apparently not. And he wanted people to let him get away with it. So, okay. Good for you, sir.
You know, if I ever decide to date, again, I'm going to use that line. Do you like Thai food?
Can I be there when you do it?
God, I just hope the day doesn't ever happen. So, not on the radar.
Oh,
I don't know that I like this. I'm sorry. I added it with the gin, and now I.
Yeah, I told you. My face hurts right now, but that's okay.
It smells like something someone would hand you and say, "Try this."
It's not settling well with me, so I'm not gonna hop on that one. Yeah, see? You're contemplating the mistake.
Well, I mean, considering stuff we had last week, I've had worse.
I have some cherry shit, some cherry.
I would drink that over that cherry stuff.
Okay, that's not fair. That's terrible.
Yeah.
One of the not so good things on the show. It falls into that category.
Yeah,
Peanut
with
butter
the
one
gin,
was okay.
not a.
No.
Okay, let's do a blend with everything from last week plus all of this.
Fuck
No, I'm just
you. No,
No.
I might be sick. Seriously, I will not be okay
no.
from that. So no, that's not happening.
I did not
be
feel.
injured.
I did not feel well during that last week.
Yeah, that rarely happens.
Yes. Well, you know, the White Castle and McDonald's probably did not help.
Could have been worse.
Yeah,
Could have been McRib.
Again, McRib, it was just the texture. It never broke down. and Alan never got to process his.
That's the best part. Is like half people didn't realize he just wandered off and quietly in the background.
Yeah, he actually threw up. Yeah, he didn't go to the bathroom. He actually threw up. Yeah.
He had a puking rally. He came back. He took a bite or two. I'll give him credit.
Yeah, the show must go on.
Yeah,
Oh dear
that.
God.
Okay, so sorry, I didn't mean to be going down that.
No, that's fine.
That
It was memorable.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, that's true.
Hopefully, we never take you down that path, or we find some. I promise to never give you some IPA whiskey. I promise that right now. So there is a vial sitting out there, still downstairs for some lucky soul who upsets me someday. It's a vicious sample.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know. I was not nearly as traumatized by Malort as y'all seem to be. I thought it went okay with a fish sandwich, and I was fine.
We know other people that actually enjoy, like Fred Swanson. He really enjoys it, and there's other
He loves
people
Malort.
too. So there's, everyone's all over the spectrum. So that's why we don't get upset. But neat stuff. And Emily, thank you so much. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I you know what I did, Emily? Am I right? Did I send you that Amador hopped whiskey?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have it yet?
I had some. I don't have
Okay.
it. I don't have it available to me right now. But
No. I wasn't going to ask
No.
that because I was thinking about hopped whiskey because it would be.
It's very hoppy. It's good. I like it. It doesn't taste like whiskey to me.
See,
it tastes like a liqueur sort of ish thing.
Yeah.
Ginny-ish vodka.
Yeah,
right?
it's good. Like
it's weird.
It's funky, and I like funk.
Yeah.
But if I didn't know what it was, I would not peg it as a whiskey at all.
I would agree. I'm contemplating because I know I can pick it up around me because I shared most of that bottle with everybody and I loved every bit of sharing it. But I'd like to get it again because I would like to have it with something with blue cheese.
Yes, that'd be really good.
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
It's a good excuse to have blue cheese also.
True.
Okay, there's a recipe that we tend to do a reasonable amount where I am, which is like blue cheese dressing made with basically 4 ingredients. So it's like buttermilk, blue cheese, lemon juice, and black pepper.
Okay.
Simple.
And that's it.
I'm kind of behind that.
Take a whole package of blue cheese and dump it in and like mix it really well with the lemon juice and the black pepper and like a shit ton of black pepper. Like you grind until your wrist gets sore. And it does not keep very long because there's literally no preservatives other than the acid in it, but I'll take that over ranch any day of the week.
Oh, I like that.
So how much lemon?
I'm biased. I generally aim for about I'll find your recipe, but I generally like about half a lemon, generally of a typical lemon.
Okay, that's not bad. I might have gone more. So
Yeah. It's one of those things you taste it and you figure out how much you like.
Okay.
It's one of those by ear kind of things, but it's good.
I made a note of that. So there's, and I had posted this with was another group, but we would go down the Ozarks and go fishing, and we'd try to go to this pizza place and get their wings, but their blue cheese, there was something different about their blue cheese. And two of the guys that I went with were, one's a nutritionist and the other one's a chef, technically both chefs. But we're all trying to figure out what the deal was. And so we'd gone to this place enough over the years, and so we finally said, we're going to just ask them because we can't figure it out. So we said, what is the deal? What is different about your blue cheese? And the waitress goes, oh, I'll find out. I'll just come back and tell you. So she goes to the kitchen and comes back, and she goes, yeah, we just take blue cheese crumbles and we mix it in with just a little bit of ranch. And that was it. And we're like, you've got to be shitting me. And so we did that. Took because one of the guys brought homemade ranch for our fish fry night with our salad. He made his own ranch. Put a little bit of blue cheese crumbles in with that homemade ranch. And it's like, this is better than blue cheese dressing, and it's way better than ranch. Because it just put the funk in the ranch, and it was great. So I recommend trying that with a good ranch and a lot of blue cheese.
You know what else might work as a blue cheese dressing would be like the French onion soup mix.
Oh, yeah, that would.
Yes. See?
Not a whole package, just like
I get you.
Somewhere between a third and half, maybe.
So let's say like a quarter to a half or somewhere in that ballpark. Might be real interesting.
Yeah. I agree with Kevin. You need to have your own show, Emily. And you could just do shorts, and it could just be you coming on and say, you know what would work? Do this. 20 seconds long, 10,000 hits.
Yeah, that's fine, but I need somebody to riff off of to do that. So I don't know.
You could do it. You can make fun of us as much as you want.
We're fine with that. No qualms here.
Okay.
All
I'll
right.
put in my proposal for a spot on your network, Kevin. It'll be fine.
There.
We can handle that. So we can slot you into your own show. We can.
I think 100% that could happen.
Yeah, we'll have to. That'll be a behind the scenes conversation. But thank you for
Love
having me for all this. This has been fun.
No, thank you. We appreciate you coming on. We really do. And like you said, if you're up for it, we may pull you on again for another couple episodes or something from here or there if you're totally okay with it. Because, like you said, it's neat to have people on that have a little bit different flavor profile or descriptive words.
Yes,
just how it hits different. It spurs your own brain in different ways that you're not usually used to. So
yeah.
I love the way you kind of steer stuff sometimes. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't fucking think of that.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you're over there and you're in a whole different world that's, blowing up at that moment.
If you keep giving me the opportunity, I will probably keep showing up as long as the internet keeps working. So thank you. We'll have to work that out.
That sounds like a plan.
I think we could.
That sounds like a really good plan.
All right. So let me grab something here. I'll get some in my hand.
I'm going to finish with water. I'm not even ashamed to say it.
Come on, it's Emily's. It's Emily's first.
You know what?
I
got about it.
It won't be.
I got like
last.
a half ounce. I got a half ounce of gin. So
Okay.
I'll finish where we started.
Okay,
I swear there's gin swirling around in there.
You lying son of a bitch, but that's okay.
I'm not lying. I'll dump it and you can watch it fall onto my table. Not like the Promethean from the Ironroot episode. Which we did discuss that, and the licorice just admitted that was a top heavy bottle. Not only that, but they were talking about the bottles coming through, and because of the pandemic, and trying to when you can get bottles from China.
Yep.
They're like, one of the things that was happening was the company was getting it from China, and that the bottles would be on the ship partway over, and then there would be like a stop, and then the glass company in China would say, well, here's the deal. If you want your bottles, it's going to be another 50% of the cost. Otherwise, we'll turn the ship around.
Turn the ship around. I just give you the finger right there.
And
Oh,
then-
I know. I'd have called in an airstrike and just said nobody's getting their bottles today. But I'm glad that they did switch to the other bottles, because those ones they were a little tippy, but also like they said they had bottles that they dropped on the floor, nothing happened, and then other ones light tap. So I can guarantee you, I had one that with a light tap, and I lost my bottle of Promethean because of that.
So the most exciting moments on our show.
Yes.
What in the fuck just happened?
That was bad.
All right. But before we go, like we said, Emily, thank you so much for coming on. We look forward to having you on again.
Yeah. This week in stupid.
No,
That's
this week in chaos.
Yeah.
But sure.
But thank you for coming on, Emily. We look forward to having you back on again. And we appreciate your friendship the whole way through and everything you do for us and the entire whiskey community. I don't think there's enough people that understand how much you affect things, and we do. So we really do appreciate your presence. So.
Well, I appreciate that. I just show up and keep yelling. And try to shout people out as much as I can, and if that helps, great. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your friendship and support as well. No, believe me, I know dumbasses. Y'all are at least.
I'm not offended.
Me either.
Yeah, I'm good.
Love you too, Kevin. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for stopping in the chat tonight. But remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of whiskey.
Dumbass.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, y'all. Thanks.
Cheers.